This'll be an awkward mission. It'll be something, dudes. It'll be something. So OneWeb, guys. Interesting story. OneWeb is SpaceX's competition, believe it or not. OneWeb is a fellow satellite intro. OneWeb is a fellow satellite internet satellite service provider. So they were competing against Starlink, and they still are, but geopolitical circumstances basically made it so OneWeb satellites ride into space was not used anymore. So OneWeb had a bunch of satellites, and until they figure out another way, they have to launch these satellites. And they actually signed a contract with SpaceX, who is technically their competition when it comes to internet satellite service providers. They signed a contract to launch a couple of their satellites for them, which is actually pretty cool. It's pretty cool of SpaceX to launch their competition stuff into space.
Deployed. And Falcon 9 has landed.
All right, here we go.
On your screen is a live view of Falcon 9 awaiting its 5:27 p.m. Eastern Time launch from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Hello and welcome to SpaceX's 55th launch of 2022 for our customer OneWeb. My name is Yomezo, and I'm a propulsion engineer here at SpaceX, and I'm joining you today from SpaceX headquarters here in Hawthorne, California. Our customer today, OneWeb, is a connectivity wholesaler in pursuit of bridging the digital divide around the world. Today's mission will mark OneWeb's 15th overall launch and will bring their LEO constellation to 80%.
Fast forward, please. Because the internet won't have it if we're 2 seconds behind. Actually, I think we're a good ways behind, but yes. The amount of conspiracies that will come up if this mission fails. Jesus. Time zoom. OneWeb literally is designed to do exactly what Starlink is designed to do, which is funny. Here, let's...
For many of us in big cities and large and established communities, it's doing that every day. It's essential, fundamental, it's enabling our lives. From connectivity flows a better quality of life, new horizons and greater opportunities. So what can we do to help ensure everybody can experience the benefits of connectivity? This is the OneWeb mission, to bridge that digital divide, to serve businesses and rural communities, to further scientific understanding and collaboration. And we're doing this by bringing high-speed broadband internet from space to places where this opportunity was previously unimaginable. Every customer connected via the OneWeb network has their own story. All of them are united by one thing: gaining the power of connectivity and the independence or sense of community that can bring.
OneWeb, we are a global connectivity provider powered by satellites to connect the unconnected globally. And we are doing this with a low Earth orbit constellation of 648 satellites. We run satellites 30 times closer to the Earth than traditional satellites. We do this because we can deliver high-speed connectivity to be hundreds of megabits per second, delivered to a single user terminal. Connectivity is highly concentrated around densely populated areas. OneWeb really wants to bring connectivity to remote places. With a satellite constellation, we can reach everyone, everywhere, effectively bringing on a level playing field all of these people that have been left behind.
Halsey, you know what the number one
water is life, but connectivity is everything else, right? It's education, it's healthcare, it's being able to start your own small business. I mean, just look at all the stuff you do on a day-to-day basis in an urban environment.
Oh, look at that!
And,
that's Toronto.
You know, think
right
if that's cut off for even a few hours, how anxious you get. There's over 300 communities in Canada that we think will never. They're satellite communities. We don't think they'll ever have connectivity going in. They're just too far away to run fiber. They're too far away to get 4G or 5G. The only option for them will be satellite internet.
I'm taking classes to get my bachelor's degree in administration in the early childhood field. With the internet, it's made it a lot easier. I can see my professors during class. I can collaborate with my classmates.
OneWeb has helped in a lot of ways. It's more convenient for us, like ordering supplies and payments over the phone.
Candy bars.
It is great to work with SpaceX. They are a fantastic partner. It's been very nice and exciting to restart working with them and OneWeb.
We're really looking forward to the launch with SpaceX. It's very important for us because it will enable us to extend our commercial coverage 25 degrees north to the North Pole and 25 degrees to the South Pole, and we'll be able to do that by next summer, the summer of 23.
Make it myself, but then land in place. Kiggy, you heard it too. You say surge.
Liftoff is currently 7.5 minutes from now. Let's get to know a little bit more about the rocket on your screen. Falcon 9 is our two-stage rocket and stands at 250 feet or 70 meters tall, roughly the height of a 20-story building.
If you told me that SpaceX would be launching OneWeb satellites, Kiggy, you know what I would have said? Get the frick out of here! No, we cannot be getting out of here because very important launch.
At T-minus 35
Get the frick out of here!
The bottom two-thirds of the vehicle is
Also
the
going
first
wrong.
stage.
Okay.
At the very bottom of the first stage are 9 Merlin engines that will get the Falcon 9 off the ground and up
neat.
to the thinner parts of the Earth's atmosphere. The two stages will then separate from one another, with the second stage continuing on to orbit while the first stage makes its way back down to Earth for its landing attempt back on land at Landing Zone 1 in Cape Canaveral, which is
That's
not
right,
too far
Doc.
from where it will take off. Now, if successful, this will be the
Why
fourth
does that
launch
rocket
and
look
landing
dirty?
for the booster on
That's
today's
it.
mission, and it will also mark the 145th successful recovery of a Falcon 9 first stage.
Now that's a Florida sunset. That's a winter Florida sunset. Actually, look at very, very cold tones.
MVAC engine, about 2.5
Yeah,
minutes
this is
into
a polar
flight.
RTLS,
Just heard
guys,
the call
which is
out
actually
that
really
the
cool,
first
really
stage
cool mission.
RP1
We
load
should
is
get some
complete, and we're
really
still
nice
loading
visuals.
liquid oxygen. But the MVAC engine on the second stage is
Oh, I
what
thought
will
that
take
was snow for a
OneWeb 1
second,
payload to low Earth orbit.
Sand.
Now, right now, that payload fairing is what you see on your screen, and that's where the 40 OneWeb satellites are safely enclosed. The fairing protects
Hello.
the payloads from aerodynamic heating, loads, and contamination during ascent. And once we reach the vacuum of space, we will jettison the fairing halves while second stage continues to orbit. Now, for today's launch, we will have 3 separate payload deployments from the second stage. The first will deploy 14 satellites, and then the second and third will each deploy 13 satellites
It's cold
after
in
that.
Florida, it's 70 degrees.
Now, we will only have live views of the first payload
that's
deployment, as we
chilly
won't have
or
ground
something.
station coverage for the final 2 deployments. But for these, we will come back once we regain ground station coverage to confirm successful separation. Now, lastly, that truss structure you see right alongside the rocket there is the transporter erector, or TE. We use it to roll the rocket out to the pad and raise it to its vertical launch position. The TE also routes the vehicle's
for strong battery track.
fluids, power, and telemetry umbilicals from the ground systems to the rocket and satellites until Falcon 9 goes on internal power and clears the pad. Now, at liftoff, the TE will retract in order to clear the way for F9's ascent. So before the TE retracts, we will see the clamp arms will begin to open around the second stage, and then the TE
strong back retract.
will pull away from the rocket slightly. You heard that call out. The strong back retraction has just begun.
I don't know us.
Finally, at
I'm
T0,
sure
the
there's
ground
something.
hydraulic systems will pull the TE even further away from the Falcon 9 as it lifts off.
It's a big tower back there. Don't you think?
You should be able to see right there on the bottom of the screen below the fairing,
No.
the clamp.
So Delta, the launch commentators for SpaceX, if you notice, they sometimes do stuff like that. What's going on there is they have the ground loop the flight control, ground loop, and flight loop going on, and that means someone's talking in your ear. Trust me, as somebody that's hosted live webcasts and stuff, oh, she's tilting a little bit as the TE retracts. Oh, she gonna tilt a little bit. Oh man, nice shot. Look at the tones. Very nice. Yeah, that's why you hear them just kind of stop for a second, and because they're listening. Trust me, it's really hard to talk and have somebody talk in your ear and also talk at the same time and be saying something completely different. That's really I tried doing it once by hosting a live cast at Twitch one time, and it screwed with my head. I'm like, I can't do this. I hate
it's liquid
this.
oxygen
This is not
loading.
fun at all.
The second stage should wrap up in about a minute at T-minus 2 minutes.
Yeah, Dragon. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right?
You might be able to see those white clouds gathering around the vehicle. And that is chilled gas from just above the LOX tank liquid surface that we vent overboard to maintain the pressures that we want in the LOX tank. And when that gas comes into contact with the humid Florida air, you can see it condensing into those clouds coming from the booster.
You'll hear
at
certain
T-minus
stuff
60 seconds, Falcon 9 will be in startup. This means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers will have taken over the countdown.
Hey fellas, just on a side note, does it feel like we haven't covered a Falcon 9 launch in a little while? Huh? Like they either keep getting scrubbed or just hasn't been a little bit in a while.
Wrapping up.
Either way, fun to be back covering launches. Let's see what we got. Yeah, Kyron. The rockets, they don't clean them. There's no need. They'll be fine. That's from flying through its own exhaust
The
cloud.
OneWeb 1 payload continues to be healthy, and the Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket.
Kerosene.
There's that call out for second stage LOX loading complete. Weather is still looking good, and the range is go for launch. With that, we are proceeding into the last few minutes of the terminal countdown.
Only a few, Hellfish.
You can see that white cloud coming from the TE LOX line. This is normal and expected.
The one indicates, Balbon, that it's the first
in just about 30 seconds.
Launch gas closeouts.
Okay, there's the gas closeout
just
on the
under
vehicle.
30 seconds here, Falcon 9 will be in.
So what they did was there's fuel lines that go up this white structure here to fuel the second stage. What they did is a gas closeout on it. They pump nitrogen up the line there to inert the line, and they open a vent at the top and close the valves to the stage. And what happens is you get a big puff of liquid oxygen coming out the side there. Over here, you can see the water tower is fully primed and ready to go. It has a check valve in it. Basically, it's just a hole in the water tower. So when it fills up, when the water tower is primed, you'll see it spill out over the side. That's totally normal. Gas closeout on the second stage is complete here. Vehicle should be going into startup.
Our launch director has given the final go for launch. Out there? All systems are go for Falcon 9 and the OneWeb 1 payload for launch.
Hey, Gorza, 12 months.
T-minus 30 seconds and counting.
Dude, I watched the Haas VOD course. It was amazing. Really good. I wish I was there with him, dude. I could have said what all that stuff does. 20 seconds. Let's fly. Those people on that jet are about to get an awesome view. You're not wrong.
T-minus 10, 9,
Sound
8,
suppression system
7,
is prime.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Boosters at
ignition. Lift off.
All right, we're flying.
Pitching downrange.
Looks good.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
So this thing is going to fly out over the coast, and then it's going to take a right, and it's going to go down the coast of Florida. Because these satellites need to be
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center, carrying our OneWeb 1 payload.
OneWeb 1.
Now, during ascent, we will tilt the engines, technically called gimbaling, and that'll turn the rocket horizontally slightly in what we call a gravity turn.
Nominal power and telemetry.
Yeah.
So we're still going up, but we're also going horizontally away from the launch pad. You can see a beautiful sunset view of that ascent of Falcon 9.
Vehicle supersonic.
Now in just a couple moments, we will be throttling the engines down in preparation for max Q, or the maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Max Q.
We just passed through that moment. Now, the first stage, or any rocket, typically needs about to go about 17,500 miles per hour horizontally in order to avoid being pulled back down to Earth and actually make it into orbit. So you can keep an eye on that stage 1 telemetry on that bottom left-hand side of your screen. Looks like we're going about 2,500 miles per hour right now and increasing rapidly. In a little under a minute here, we will have 5 events coming up in quick succession. So it'll start with main engine cutoff of the first stage, followed by stage separation, a stage 1 flip as it prepares to do the boost back burn, second engine startup 1, where the second stage.
Okay, what's gonna happen here is you're gonna see a very quick sequence of events. You'll see the engine shut down and then a puff of gas come out the back, and right after that puff of gas comes out, what that is an inert. They inert the rocket engines, and it's a little bit of residual propellant. You don't want to keep oxidizer in the lines because oxidizer oxidizes things. The engine will rust from the inside out because they're using pure oxygen for their oxidizer. So you'll see a puff come out of the engines right there, and then there's a little puff right there. There's the closeout, and then stage separation, and you should see upper stage ignition here. A stiffener ring for the nozzle should pop off right there. Right now, there it goes. Perfectly good. First stage is relighting the engines, and it's using its nitrogen attitude control systems to push back and come back to land at the launch site. Did you see it turn around? There it goes. Second stage is going this way. First stage is going that way. Return to sender, or return to launch site is what it's called. So right now the first stage uses its rocket engine to negate out the velocity that it instilled on the second stage. It has about 6,200 kilometers an hour to burn off on that thing to basically get it to turn around. Now, what do you mean, how does it turn around? How does it have enough fuel to come all the way back? Well, because you're not carrying a 20-ton upper stage and like 10 tons of payload, the rocket doesn't need to use as much power, and it definitely doesn't use as much fuel because it's moving less mass around. So it has what's called more delta V. It can change its velocity more because it's not carrying as much payload. No upper stage, no nothing. So when it turns around, it doesn't need to do as long of a burn to literally pull a U-turn in space and come right back. Fairing separation is off right there. Fairing is the aerodynamic component that protects the satellites on the way up. SpaceX is going to go fish those things out. Those fairings actually have thrusters on them that use compressed nitrogen to turn them over, and they actually come down through the atmosphere, and they got a parachute, and it lands in the water, and they go fish them out. First stage is doing some trajectory changes here using once again an attitude control system that's using compressed nitrogen. You see that's trying to reorient the stage to keep it on an even keel in preparation for its entry and landing burn. The first stage right here, it did that U-turn that I was talking about, but the other thing that it's got to do is come back down. It's got to slow down. So in order to prevent re-entry heating on the first stage from happening, what SpaceX is going to do is they're going to fire that center engine right when the re-entry heating is starting to get hot, and then they're going to fire 2 other engines next to it. The plume on the exhaust will actually change shape. You'll see it. You'll see it clear as day here. What they're doing there is pushing the plasma and the re-entry heating out of the way. Now, don't get me wrong. For the nerds, that's not exactly how you say that. What's happening is gases are getting compressed on the bottom of the rocket as it comes back down into the atmosphere. Those compressed gases eventually ionize because they get too hot. And when they get too hot, it makes plasma. Plasma convects a lot of heat. And that's what re-entry heating is. Right? You can see they're getting ready to fire that thing. The reason why the gases expand so crazy up there from the thrusters is because there's no pressure. So what SpaceX is going to do is fire the rocket engine and push the plasma out of the way. They're going to push the plasma out of the way here, and you'll see it. You'll see it get pushed out of the way, which is really cool. That little nub thing right there, that's the nitrogen attitude control system. You can see the grid fins for when it gets through the atmosphere and starts to steer itself in. Their hypersonic control surfaces, those are folded out and ready to go. Watch, we get to see supersonic retropropulsion from the business end. This idea of using rocket exhaust as your heat shield was an idea that NASA came up with. NASA came up with this idea for Mars entry, descent, and landing, or Mars EDL for short. Basically, coming in on Mars, you could use the rocket engine to push the heat out of the way and also slow you down. Watch, you're going to see it happen right here. There it is. And then the plume will change
There
shape
is
right
the
there.
start of
That
our
was the center
first
engine, and
stage
then the
entry burn,
two outer
as you can
engines
see.
firing. Oh, that's your heat
And you
shield
can
right
see
there.
that first stage flying through that entry burn plume.
Okay,
which
back to one
deposits
engine.
that
One engine
soot
off.
on
Now the grid
first
fins.
stage.
Now the grid fins will do their thing.
Did to get that call out for a good entry
Stage one.
burn.
Look at it steer. Oh, that's legit, dude. Oh, that never gets old. That's so cool. Look, you can see it turning. The grid fins doing a little turn.
Stage 2 continues to be on a
little
nominal
something to
trajectory.
get back to the
We
landing-
are getting some
landing
spotty
site.
camera connectivity, but everything is looking good from Stage 2 telemetry.
Now they're gonna fire the rocket
You can see
engine
the
to do
first
that
stage
final
is coming
component of
down
slowing
back
down
towards
the
landing
vehicle.
zone 1, and we will start our landing
then
burn of that first stage in just
They're gonna
about
deploy the
10
landing
seconds
leg right
here.
before it comes down all the way to the bottom.
You can see the Cape Canaveral
When I say the
coast
bottom, I
on
mean
your
the ground.
screen on
Stage
the
2,
right.
FTS is saved.
Oh, come on in. Okay, engine is on.
There is
Landing burn
that
has
start
begun.
of our first stage landing burn.
Now, once the thing,
Stage 1 landing burn.
once the rocket gets down to a point where the grid fins can't do anything, basically it's going slow enough where
Really
aerodynamics don't
incredible
matter.
views from the
They'll be
first
entirely
stage.
on gimbal. You'll see the grid fins actually lock. Watch. Right there.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
See, they locked up. Landing leg deploy. Easy peasy. Back down on the ground.
Stage 1 landing burn.
That's pretty neat.
As you
You
can
the
see
forging
from that
systems down
beautiful
there? Get all the
video
excess
from
propellant out of the rocket engines. You
from
don't
the
want them
first
catching on
stage, we did
fire.
have a successful landing of the first stage booster back on landing zone 1, and this landing marks the
Look at that. Look at that
145th
trajectory.
recovery of a Falcon 9 first
Oh,
stage.
that's so cool.
Now, in just a few seconds here, we will have second engine cut off one of the second stage. We are getting a little bit of some spotty video connections, but you did see the second stage briefly there in the
Maybe you
midst
should
of that
use
first
OneWeb.
burn.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
We should have SECO 1 here shortly.
MVAC shutdown.
Okay, there's second stage engine cutoff.
There is
Stand by
that
for the call
second
for
engine
nominal orbital
cutoff for
insertion.
MVAC shutdown 1. And we are just waiting for confirmation of a good orbital insertion from the second
Heavy metal.
stage.
Tier 2, 34. Thanks, man. Any call for NOI, guys? Fellas, that looks a little short to me. Well, they're not going to call it 2Web demo. There was no call for nominal orbital insertion.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
It might be a handover through ground stations here. Give it a second.
Expected loss of signal. Okay.
They had a loss of signal.
You heard the call out. We are in a period of loss of signal from the Cape, but hopefully we will regain connectivity here shortly.
That's why we didn't hear the call for it, because they don't have a connection.
Nominal orbit insertion.
Oh.
We did just get that confirmation
Don't do
of the
that to me,
nominal orbital
man.
insertion.
Damn.
But the mission isn't over yet. The second stage is now embarking
Oh my
on its
God.
first coast
Why would
phase.
you do that?
So after the coast phase, we will relight that MVAC engine for a second time around the T plus 55 minute mark.
Why'd you
So
do
we'll see you
this
back
to us?
here in about 45 minutes. But in the meantime, enjoy the space tunes, and we'll see you again soon.
I will, Yume. Thank you. Dude, that between the spotty camera and the loss of signal, I was like, uh-oh. Yikes. Arecibo's not active anymore. It's a damn shame, Luiso. Yeah, I heard it, Muffin. I heard it. That was awesome. Dude, it's very rare that we get to, so I'm gonna back it up a little bit. It's very rare that we get to see you get to see the supersonic retro propulsion from the backside. I mean, it is absolutely unreal, dude. This is so freaking cool. That's my favorite, dude. This is like one of my favorite things in space flight. There are a lot of different ways to, you know, get around re-entry heating. There are a lot of different ways to make heat shields. You know, you have ablator heat shields that made out of like phenolic impregnated carbon ablator or something. And if that made no sense, basically it's charcoal, like charcoal with glue in it. There's ablator heat shields. There's reusable heat shields like the silica thermal tiles on the shuttle. There's reinforced carbon. This one is my favorite. You know why? Because it's literally fighting plasma with fire. They shoot fire at plasma to get the plasma to move out of the way. That's the most metal thing I've ever heard in my life. Look at that. Oh, that's freaking cool, dude. You got the smoke trail from your house? Cool. It is the most metal thing. No, not ride the lightning. We ride the plasma here, okay? We surf plasma. That's what we do. That's freaking cool, man. That's the heat shield. A rocket engine firing at full blast into a accumulated pool of plasma and to push it out of the way and envelop the vehicle in a cooler column of gas. That's the heat shield. That's the coolest thing ever, man. That's hot. What's a Delta V of Falcon 9 with a tiny 5-kilogram payload? Easily to the moon, John. Easily. Cool. I'm self-taught when it comes to this stuff, dude. Not an engineer. Just find this stuff fascinating and just in the right place at the right time to be able to explain it, man. I'm just a big nerd. That's the truth. I'm just a big nerd. Yeah. I read a lot about rockets, how they work, how the industry works. Yeah, it's really cool, man. Nah, I don't really have any intention of doing that, Linus. I don't want to play any other games. I got a lot on my plate right now. Oh, dude, that never gets old. Tim got chosen for Deer Moon. Yeah, Timast. Yeah, interesting, huh? In a bonus landing view. What about a P-38 Lightning? I also like P-38 Lightnings. Oh, yeah. Relativity's rocket is on the pad over there. Terran 1. Good timing, Thomas. Yeah, did you see that? There's another commercial launch provider over there with their rocket teed up on the pad. Look at that. That's cool. Yeah, here we go. But yeah, self-taught when it comes to this stuff, guys. Zephic Steve Aoki's going on Deer Moon. Well, at least you know the music won't suck. Here, let's skip up back to live. You could say that Terran 1 is about to drop the hammer and dispense some indiscriminate justice. Ready to roll out. Tim, that's insane. I'm glad to have you explaining what's on screen. I don't know anything about this. Have you ever tried applying to something like NASA, or are you not interested in making it your job? Thimicool, they know who I am, dude. NASA has endorsed the stream before. At least NASA's Twitch account did. They came in here and they're like, "Yeah, you keep doing what you're doing." I don't know if they'd want me as a public affairs person. I mean, maybe. Have I applied in the past? Yeah, but kind of like what I do here on Twitch. But who knows? Dude, I mean, if they asked, if they said we want, I'm not gonna say no. You know what I mean?
Discovery, go at throttle.
An anonymous gifter gifted 10 subs. Oh my goodness. You would go on too many shuttle rants. I mean, you're not wrong.
Discovery.
Yeah, Pegster. It was a really, really beautiful launch. Look at some of these views. That's not like through a camera lens. It's just this Florida sunset, man. It ain't called the Sunshine State for nothing.
Discovery.
But yeah.
In just a couple minutes, we will be throttling.
Thanks for those gift subs, anonymous gifter.
Max Q, or the maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Max Q.
But you guys got questions about rockets, propulsion, how the rockets work, how Falcon 9 lands, the space shuttle, Saturn V, SLS, Artemis 1, anything, dude. I live and breathe this stuff. It's my life. Yeah. At least communicating it is my life. But yeah, we could get into, like, I can tell you how the rocket engine's working if you wanted to know the math behind it. I mean, I don't know. I'm probably not the best at that, but I'm enough to be dangerous.
In a little under a minute here, we will have 5 events coming up in quick succession.
So just watching Tim's video, he just really saying he was announced. They've known they were selected for at least a year now. Oh, that's cool, Creeper. Yeah. Yeah, I had a feeling they might. I have an odd request. Can you please watch this 3-minute intro cinematic for the new game? As a fellow shuttle nerd, I feel obliged to share with you. Yeah, Phoenix, we can do that in a little bit, okay? Just remind me to do it after launch coverage is over. Yeah, Kiki, I'm just trying to put it in a way that my stupid caveman brain understands it, you know? But yeah, this is a replay from the launch. Let's get us back up to live. Does the rocket have to go through the subsonic threshold twice? Yeah, Iron Spark on the way up and on the way down. Sure, absolutely. Keep in mind, it's in a completely different configuration and going the wrong way. One way as opposed to the other, you know what I mean? Yeah, there you go, Kiki. Have you seen the Dear Moon announcement? Yep, probably about 20 or 30 times now, Geeson, yeah. We watched it when they released the video at noon. So like, well, not noon, like 4 hours ago. I watched it and yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. I think you would really enjoy that game. I don't know why people keep suggesting games because I've like been trying to say like I don't have time to do that for like the next 2 months because I want to get everything done in Kerbal. We have unfinished business, chat. We have unfinished business in KSP. Did the landing part have the engines on both ends to fight the speed and go back to Earth, or did it turn 180 degrees? Well, the landing uses one of the same engines that they use to go up. So on Falcon 9 Thimical, you have 9 engines. That's the namesake for the rocket, Falcon 9. It has 9 engines in the first stage. Technically, Falcon has 10 engines if you include the upper stage, right? So in that cluster of 9 engines, you have 1 through 8 on the outside and engine number 9 in the center, okay? So on the way up, like right at ignition, all the engines start. You start 9 engines on the way up. And then the 9 engines are working all the way until engine cutoff, right when that puff of smoke came out that I was telling you about. And then the thing turns around, and then they immediately refire the E9 engine in the center. All right, that's the boost back burn. That's doing the U-turn that I was telling you about. And then after that, they shut the E9 off and they purge it out. And then basically the booster puts itself on a high enough trajectory to where Earth spins, and Earth spins underneath it. And when it comes back down, the landing pad is in the right spot. I mean, it does make some changes with the grid fins and stuff, but after that, like before they can do all that and steer the thing back to the landing site, they do the entry burn, the supersonic retropropulsion, and when they do that, they fire E9. I think it's E4, or E9, E8, and E4. So 3 engines across. They fire the center one first and then the other ones after that. That's why the plume changes shape coming out of the rocket when it's coming back down. And then for the final burn, for this one, they fired the E9 engine. They fired 1 engine and then it just lands on 1. You don't need 9 engines to land. Why? The rocket's has way less mass than when it took off. For instance, like the upper stage and payload, you don't want to land with those. I'm pretty sure the object is to put them up there. If you're landing with that, I think something went wrong. That and Falcon 9 wouldn't be able to stand up. It wouldn't be able to stand up straight with that with the second stage on top of it. It can't do that. The only time it can stand up it can stand up straight with the upper stage and payload on top is when it's fully fueled on the launch pad. It wouldn't be if you had the second stage up there and you tried to land it, it would fall off. It would just break in half and crack like an egg. The rockets they're engineered to that type of precision, to the point where they use tank pressurization for structural rigidity. The only time it can have an upper stage like standing up straight on the top is when it's fully fueled. Oh, nice picture from Trevor. You got a picture of both rockets. This is a launch photographer named Trevor Malman. Trevor Malman gets some insane pictures. See, there's Terran 1 in the foreground with Falcon 9 landing in the background. That's an excellent picture. I'm gonna tell him, dude, superb shot. Dude. Yeah, something like that, Hibbit. But yeah, the other thing is that the landing legs on Falcon 9, I'll use Trevor's picture. The landing legs on Falcon 9 are only designed to hold that thing up when it has no fuel in it. That thing can't land with a full tank of gas.
Signal, South Chile.
Okay, they got an AOS through Chile. The only time that those legs can hold that thing up are when it has like almost no fuel left. It barely holds Falcon 9 up by itself. But you got to remember, rockets are built that way. They're designed to just barely be able to do a thing. The reason why is because with a rocket, when you're trying to accelerate something to 17,500 miles an hour, it turns out that, the less rocket that you have on your rocket, the better. I mean, that's the rocket equation in a nutshell. An easy way to describe rocket science to people is your rocket will go further the less rocket you have on your rocket. The more fuel you have on your rocket and the less rocket that you have on your rocket goes further. Simple as that. So a lot of this stuff is designed just to be able to work just good enough because they don't want a lot of rocket on their rocket. Does that make sense? Yeah, lol's very nice, dude. Basically, keep the weight down. Exactly, Stone. But if okay, I don't mean to actually, right? I don't like people that do that because you're absolutely right. When the rocket gets off the pad, you're dealing with weight. You have to accelerate faster than gravity. It'll weigh you down. But when you're up in space, you're talking mass. Why? There's no weight up there. There's no weight up there because you're in a microgravity environment. Basically, the rocket is going fast enough to negate the falling effects of gravity, right? Because it's going around the planet, right? So mass is the key. If we're gonna talk like super, like want to get super nerdy stuff, say mass. But weight is exactly right. That's exactly what we're dealing with here. Hey, WD-40, what's up, man? Great launch. Did you get a good picture? It's a flocking raid! Catch any, WD-40 is a bird watching streamer, guys. You catch any falcons today? Hypersonic, I'm actually not familiar with it, but I know, yeah, you can't just step on a scale now, can you? Orbit is just falling and missing the ground. Yep, Survey, you got it, buddy. Yeah. Falling and missing the ground, though, I found is like, that's a weird way to say it, because that doesn't really, like, when people first said, oh, you're falling around the planet, I'm like, eh? So, the way I like to explain it, and keep in mind, this is what makes sense in my head, and bro, you don't want to know what's going on up here. Falling around the Earth is the right way to say that, but if you think about, like, the way I like to, like, picture it in my head, and I know that people are gonna be like, yeah, EJ, that's not really how that works, but if you have, like, you ever been to a carnival? You know the spinning thing with the swings on it, right? The spinning thing, it spins, right? And you have the swings that are on a, chains, and if it spins faster, you go up, right? If that thing was spinning fast enough, you'd be perfectly parallel to the ground, right? Basically, you have enough angular momentum, you have enough outward acceleration to basically negate the effect of gravity, to negate the inward acceleration of gravity. That's all it's doing. That's how I like to look at it in my head. Once again, I know everybody's different. That makes sense in my stupid melon up here, but falling around the Earth is the right way to say it. Anyway, you saw an awesome Falcon? Oh, sweet. That's awesome, WD. Right on. Pilch, I'm currently going back to school for a master's in structural engineering. It makes tanks this thin really interesting, since steel-like material has a tendency to buckle in compression, and the pressure in the tank would put the walls in tension so they can't buckle. Had not really thought about it until now. They use pressure for residual structure, man. Absolutely. Yep. So this thing's gonna do a quick pass over Antarctica here. And I like watching until the sat deploy. That part's amazing. I mean, the whole thing. I like the whole thing. I'm not gonna lie. I like all of this. So we're gonna stick around, and then we'll get back into KSP. Gravity doesn't have anything to do with the spinning of the Earth, does it? Not necessarily, Thimicool, because there are planets that don't spin that have gravity. Gravitational pull is mass. The more mass something has, the more gravity it's going to have. You know, like. The sun obviously is way more mass than the Earth, so it has more gravitational pull. Yeah, it's been posted, Jackson. So how would you explain orbit around a planet that doesn't spin? How would I explain orbits around a planet that doesn't spin? Well, Thimicool, the question you just asked is, can a planet be stationary and still have gravitational pull? Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Sun doesn't spin. Not to my knowledge. In fact, it actually probably does, but... Gravity doesn't mean that the planet is... if the planet is spinning, it doesn't mean that it has or doesn't have gravity. Gravity is really dependent on the mass, right? If you have a bigger cluster of mass, you're going to get more of a warp in space and time, right? So, a good example would be the Earth and the Moon. The Earth and the Moon are made out of similar components. We have an iron-nickel core, right, with a bunch of other stuff just kind of mixed in. I mean, Earth's like a big jello mold of dirt and metal and a bunch of other things, and carbon and whatnot. The Moon is something similar, right? And it's 1/6 the size. So it's a similar composition, not exactly the same, right? There's not, I don't think there's carbon on the Moon that we know of, but there might be. I don't know. We've only literally scratched the surface. It's like we should go back there or something. So because the Moon is 1/6 the size of Earth and they're relatively similar composition, right? It has 1/6 the gravity. And the Moon doesn't spin very much now, does it? The gravwell of a planet is entirely dependent on planet's mass. It's the mass that causes the problem. This is basic laws of physics. This is basic Newton's law. So force is mass times acceleration, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Ambidexter, you got it. It has nothing to do with how it spins. It's the mass warping space and time. So like this is getting into relativity. This is getting into Einstein's relativity formula, right? E equals mc squared. You see that all the time. Everybody throws that around. Basically, what that states is that a big mass warps light. So your mom warps light a lot because your mom's fat. I swear that's the only time I make your mom jokes. I swear. Please don't. No, where are you going? No. Guys, you think they're gonna come back? Damn it. So, sorry. That's relativity. Basically, big mass bends light. So the sun bends a lot of light. Earth does too. And that bending of light actually causes acceleration. That's the very plain Jane way of saying it. Thanks for explaining about your mom. No, Thimical, I wasn't talking about your mom. I was talking about Vinius's mom. Sorry, I should have clarified. Unsub, unfollow, good day! Yeah, Rezel's mom, that's what I'm saying. I know, I'm joking. It's all good. That's all good. Yep. Yeah, we all have somewhat gravitational pull. The thing, like, I have gravitational pull. The problem is my gravitational pull, however inconsequential it might be, gets canceled out by this big iron nickel rock that I'm standing on. You know what I mean? But yeah, so spinning doesn't really matter. Just the moon has gravity, and I will say the moon is, you could say that the moon is not spinning, but the right way to say what the moon is tidally locked. There's always one side of the moon that's pointed towards Earth. So tidally locked is the nerd way of saying that. How I like to explain that is the moon does spin, but it's one revolution per orbit. So it appears to stay pointed at Earth the entire time. Simple as that. The moon doesn't spin very much, but it does spin. Yeah, Squishton, that's right. That's a very good point. But yeah, man, it's good talking to you. I love talking about this stuff. This is my favorite, man. It's my favorite. Just happens to spin the perfect amount. Gore-Tex, you want me to really cook their noodles, huh? The moon is actually doing this. It wobbles a little bit. Like, if you think about, like, if you took a top and you spun a top, and when it gets to a certain RPM, it'll start doing this. Yeah, the moon does that. So does Earth, for what it's worth. Yeah, the moon has precession because it's not a completely uniform density throughout the entire moon. So, like, if you looked at the geographic center of the moon and the geographic center of gravity, they're actually not lined up. There's a little bit of a deviation there. So the moon has moment in one direction. So it actually does this when it orbits around. It's like a bobblehead. And then Earth is spinning like crazy for whatever reason. Earth is the same way. Earth's center of gravity is never in the geometric center of Earth. It's kind of churning around a little bit. And that's part of the reason why Earth weeble wobbles around. This distance between, like, where the center of gravity is and the geographic center causes what's called precession. That's what that is. So, like, Earth is just weeble wobbling around through space, and the moon does the same thing. Like, it's not a perfect sphere. It's like a big molten iron jello mold. I'm making the jello mold reference from Ghostbusters. I'm sorry, I'm doing it. I hate jello. Oh, come on, man. There's always room for jello. The textures are getting stretched because it's a texture overlaid over a 3D model, Balbon. Kind of like your mom. Oh, damn. Oh, that hurt, but I'm still okay. Tell them about the Twinkie. I'm alright. Alright, that hurt a little bit, but I'm okay. Yeah, I know, Aqualex. It's weird stuff, man. Oh, man, I'm talking about Twinkies. Now I'm hungry. A good shot from 80 miles out. Let me see, Timan. Oh, very nice. Very nice. Oh, yeah, that's good. Oh, yeah, there you go, Rocket Guy. Yeah. Is that the video that shows the moon kind of doing its thing? Yeah, here. We're almost up to satellite deployed. Should be in about 10 minutes. Look at this. You want to see some wild stuff? Look. Dude. Oh, okay. 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 Whoa. You getting sick yet? Whoa. God, I'm gonna puke. Just weeble wobbling around, doing its thing up there. We should go there. You know, that'd be a good idea. We should go. We should land like right there. Like, that would be pretty cool. Or like down there. Like down over there, like in that area, we should do that. Go home, moon. You are drunk. Now, Thimical, you want to hear another cool thing about the moon? The moon is actually moving further away. Everybody says, oh, the moon's moving further away from Earth. Now, here's the thing. The gravity of a planet is not really, like, whether a planet's spinning or not doesn't necessarily affect the gravity of said planet. The gravwell of an Earth that wouldn't be spinning and the gravwell of an Earth that's spinning like ours is would be exactly the same. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have a perturbing effect on things. So the Earth is spinning like crazy, right? Because the Earth is spinning so much and it's like a lopsided top, right? Spinning around through space and there's nothing to stop it. It's just floating through space. It's just going to keep spinning, right? Object is active. It won't change until acted upon by an outside force, right? That spinning with that non-uniform gravitational pull is actually pushing the moon further away. Because the moon will get a slight boost in acceleration, very, very slight boost in acceleration every time that the center of gravity gets between the center of Earth and the center of the moon, right? So it'll push it a little bit away. It's going away by about an inch or about 24 millimeters per year, but it is getting pushed away. Don't worry, it's not going nowhere. Our star, the sun will pop before the moon leaves Earth's orbit. Don't worry about that. Just organize a party on the moon and I'll attend. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Caveman, that's true. Why don't we just take the moon and move it over there? Does the moon have a tide like Earth but in sand? No, not really. So, the reason why we have tides on Earth, everybody says, oh, it's just because the moon's pulling on it. That's actually, interestingly enough, you notice how the oceans have tides, but like a lake doesn't have tides? The funny thing is that the reason why the ocean has a tide in lake, like the Great Lakes or like the Caspian Sea or the Black Sea or whatever, any inland lake, why they don't have, well, not necessarily the Caspian, that's saltwater, but you get the idea. The reason why the oceans have tides and whatnot is because, a good way to describe it would be like if you have like a freight train, right? Say you have a freight train and you start pulling the freight train, right? The train is going to stretch out a little bit, right? Like, so i.e. when the locomotive at the front of a train starts going, the caboose, they don't use cabooses anymore, but you get the idea. The caboose is going to still be stationary while the locomotive starts going forward. The train actually stretches out a little bit before it gets going, right? That is the reason why we have tides. The body of water is big enough that it literally does that, but with water. Weird, huh? Pure theoretical. Would you be able to push the moon out of Earth's orbit with enough engine power? If yes, do it in KSP. KSP has, the planets are on rails, so you can't, unless you downloaded Principia, you wouldn't be able to do it. Now, honestly, no. You wouldn't, even like a chemical rocket engine, we wouldn't be able to accelerate gases fast enough to move that big of a mass. Literally, our TWR, our thrust to weight, would be nowhere near good enough. Even if we had a rocket engine like the size of the moon. I don't know how we'd make that, but maybe if we made one that big, but I think the total impulse of the propellants used wouldn't be enough to move. Like, if you used every single bit of fossil fuel on Earth and made that into a rocket engine the size of the moon, I don't think we'd be able to move it very far. I just don't think we're not the forerunners from Halo, man. We can't just move planets around willy-nilly. Oh, nice, Ambroso. That's cool article. Burn time 0.00001 seconds. The Wandering Earth says you can move the Earth with enough rocket engines. That is literally impossible. Yeah, we need to find fuel somewhere else. Yeah, Neo, it's interesting to ponder, isn't it? Or you could just get Universe Sandbox and figure out how to do it there. You know, that'd be good too. Yeah, Gore-Tex for sure. All right, we're about 5 minutes out. Well, inside of 5 minutes here for deploy. Go find fuel on the moon and start building from there. It's pretty much what NASA's trying to do, except their end goal is not to move the moon. Their end goal is to get rocket fuel. So the Artemis missions for NASA are planning to go to the lunar South Pole because there's water ice that's been trapped there for a long time. The reason why there's water there at the North and South Pole is because that's the only part of the moon that really doesn't see a lot of sunlight, just like on Earth. North and South Pole, I mean, the Earth is, because of its axial tilt, will either, like if you get up into far into the Arctic Circle, right, or the Antarctic Circle for that matter, you're gonna get periods during the year where it's all dark or it's all sunlight. It's all darkness, always has been. Yep, Sophia's going to Pima. Man, I saw that. Awesome. Now I gotta go back to Pima. Shoot. Just thinking about it, instead of a rocket engine, could you remove enough mass from the moon to change its gravity and move it that way? Midget, you'd have to take like a... You would have to basically remove like an Australia-sized chunk from the moon to be able to perturb it in any way, shape, or form. We could mine resources off the moon for the next like 1,000 years and we won't change its orbit. Not even close. The scale here is just something that's extremely difficult to understand, man. Yeah, I know it, man. Oh, boo-hoo. Yeah, the dark side of the moon, Balbon, that's not a thing. It's the far side of the moon. The far side of the moon gets light. You see, Tim is going to the moon. Yeah, Lels, it's been... so I'm told, man.
Discovery.
Would a nuclear bomb work to move the moon? No. Not enough power, T-Man. I'm telling you, we don't have a way to generate enough energy to move that thing. Not even close. Pink Floyd might want to have a word with you about that, man. It's not my fault Pink Floyd doesn't understand science. That ain't my problem. Random question, do you plan on doing a special commemorative stream for Apollo 17 in the next couple of days? No, but we can talk about it, Squishin. I hadn't planned anything Kerbal related, to be honest. Yeah, Phoenix, everyday astronaut. He got selected for Dear Moon. Yep. That's crazy. I can't believe that. I can't believe an influencer, a spaceflight influencer, actually is going into space. That's really freaking cool, man. That's really cool. Quick shuttle carrier question. How often do they have to land? 1,000 nautical mile range, John, with the SCA. Turns out that carrying a 60-ton brick on the back of a 747 ruins the fuel economy. Yeah, they'd have to make stops. Actually, it's a little over 1,000. They would stop at Ellington Field in Texas. Yeah, they'd stop at Houston. And I think they would actually have to make one more stop. They usually did California to Texas and then Texas to Florida. Yeah, Maz, there you go. What is the latest Starship development? Something went weird with Booster 7 from that firing the other day, Hypersonic. It was enough for them to take it off of the test stand. It looks like a orbital flight test for Starship is going to slip into January or February next year. Oh yeah, Caveman, for sure. Yeah. Actually, Tessa, I'm pretty sure Tim got those interviews because of Dear Moon, you know what I'm saying? Could a C5 carry the orbiter on its back? Sure. 747 is cheaper than a C5 though. Nova, that's why they chose the 747. There's a lot more of those, a lot more 747s around than there are C5s. There's, well, 1,574 747s have been produced since 1969. And maybe, I think, C5s. So they manufactured C5As and C5Bs for a good amount of time. I think there's only 70 or 80 of those. Yeah, 747's way cheaper. I think John Krause should be on it. Oh, you get no argument from me. Thank you. Was responding to that stupid meme about baggage fees that showed the shuttle on the plane. John, do you think that somebody that complains about baggage fees knows about mass and the effects of mass when it comes to aerodynamics? I agree, Joe. It's a damn shame. Dude, even Elon said it was the GOAT, man. Check this out. Actually, I said it was the GOAT, but whatever. Look, your boy. One of the best aircraft ever. He's not wrong. The Queen, baby. That's the last one. That's sad. I know guys that work on that line, which sucks. They're gonna move to make like 777s and whatnot, but long live the Queen, indeed. I prefer the 400 over the 200. I want a Dash 8. Dash 8 non-cargo. That's a Dash 8 cargo right there. Oh, dude, it's mint. Look at that thing. It's so mint. I love that plane. I've loved that plane since I was 5 years old. Seriously. The second that 5-year-old me figured out there was a plane that was a double-decker, it, like, blew my freaking mind. Because when I was younger, I was, like, super into, like, model trains and stuff. And I always thought the double-decker passenger cars were the coolest thing, right? And then, like, 5-year-old me put 2 and 2 together that there's double-decker airplanes. And I'm like, that's my favorite plane. And it's been my favorite plane since. I'm not even kidding. Oh my gosh. Are we did we just become best friends? Yup. Wanna go do karate in the garage? Yup. You didn't come with me. I agree, Muffin. Just... why don't you come with me? Oh, thanks, Hypersonic. It's broken. Yeah, I gotta fix it. Yeah, that snowblower I got for free. We're gonna fix it on stream. I'll take it apart. The auger gear is busted because someone replaced the shear pins with bolts. Whoops. That was the least athletic thing I think I've ever seen. You know what the worst part is? Is that your boy's out of breath. That's the worst part. Oh no. Yeah, exactly, Simon. Yeah, right? I'm with you. Oh, man, it's so bad. But you know what? It's less cringe than the B-21 reveal. Get dunked on, son. Garage gym streams when? I hate you. I don't know, maybe. Yeah, I agree, Hypersonic. Yep. Here's my supersonic retro propulsion shot. Yeah, let's get that in right before deploy. Oh, nice, Muffin. There you go. Wait, let me read that again. Hold on. I had my first call to the Udvar Hazy last night at the new job. Discovery says hi. All right, this is from WD-40. Thank you for the raid, man. I really appreciate it. Let's see what you got. So this is a... oh! Dude, the track! The track, though! This is great! It's burning my head! I'm going over here. No, don't move. Don't. I swear if it comes over here. Dude! This is excellent, man. That's perfect. Yeah, Snackless, can you believe that? That's the supersonic retropropulsion, Gore-Tex. There's your heat shield. See? See the heat shield? It's pushing the plasma out of the way. That's the SSRP. Oh, this is excellent, dude. Oh my god. Oh. This is some praise the cameraman level stuff. It's pretty damn good, dude. Falcon 9's, yeah, looks very heated. Yeah, WD, we got to get somebody to put this through. We got somebody to put this through a stabilizer. That's amazing, man. Bookmark this for future reference. You know what? That's a really good idea. I will be doing that. Thank you very much. Snowblowers are useless in your city. Okay. I mean, yeah, I don't know why you'd need a snowblower in the desert, TJ, but...
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Ian, what's up, man? I'll have a number 49 with extra dip. 3-month resub gift, courtesy of Gift My Vans. Just got here. What was that video you just went away from? It was another streamer, WD-40's capture of the rocket. Dr. WD-40, he's a buddy of mine. He was down in Florida and he streamed the launch. Oh. Oh, that's perfect, man. It's so good. Dude, you can see the grid fins on it. And the landing legs. Ain't that something? Need to get home and I can try stabilizing it and tweeting it. Tell us when you do that, please. Oh. WD-40. Remember what we talked about a little while back? Yeah. Just bear with me. You remember that thing? You talked to the guy? Did you talk to the guy?
Discovery.
Hey, Ace Wolf, 43-month resub. Change your name from Baseman to Ace Wolf. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know anybody named Ace Wolf with a 43-month resub, but right on. I say how long has it been, but I don't want to make EJ feel old. That thing, of course. Mutter's like, I don't remember. Yeah, that thing. You know. The first thing or the second thing? You talk to the guy? So, yeah, we might have some opportunities in the future if your boy played his cards right. Hey, FX, what's going on? You get that thing I sent you? You know, with the people, yeah. Mm-hmm. You think I'm funny? Funny how? Funny how? You think I'm funny? Huh? Funny how, like I'm amuse you? I'm here to amuse you? What the frick is so freaking funny about me? The first thing, Tessa.
Acquisition of signal, Maldives.
Banty, you really are a funny guy. Coming up here into the Indian Ocean.
Welcome back to the
Hello,
webcast
you,
of
May.
the Falcon 9 mission carrying the OneWeb 1 satellites.
Maldives,
for our
I think,
customer
Balbon? Or
OneWeb.
Diego Garcia?
We've had a nominal mission so far with Falcon 9 launching on time at 5:27 p.m.
I did
Eastern
95,
time
isn't that
from Launch
something?
Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center. We successfully recovered the first stage back on landing zone 1 with a gorgeous light show from the first stage, marking the 4th landing for this booster. And the second stage completed its first burn, taking the OneWeb satellites into space. We are just about 14 seconds away from a second ignition of the MVAC engine, which will be a really short 3-second burn and will carry the second stage of the OneWeb payload to the orbital, the orbit needed to deploy the satellites.
and shut down.
Okay. A little bit of a boost there.
You heard that call out for that very brief MVAC startup and shutdown. It was only a 3-second burn of that MVAC engine. And we will wait on a confirmation of a
nominal
good
orbit insertion.
Yeah, we just got confirmation of a nominal orbital insertion.
40, I think, shuts
as a OneWeb 1 payload is still attached to the Falcon 9 second stage. Coming up next, we will have 3 blocks of deployments of the 40 OneWeb satellites. The first will deploy 14 satellites, which should happen in just a couple minutes here. And then around 17 minutes after that, we will have a second block of 13 satellites deploying. And finally, the last block of 13 satellites will deploy at the T+1 hour and 29-minute mark. Now, as a reminder, we only expect to have live telemetry for the first payload deployment, as we won't have ground station coverage for the second and third deployments. For those last 2, we will come back once we regain ground station coverage to confirm successful deployment. As I mentioned earlier in today's broadcast, today's mission marks OneWeb's 15th overall launch and will bring their LEO constellation to 80% completion with just over 500 satellites in space.
26,
this milestone mission also marks OneWeb's first time launching from Florida, where the satellites are produced by OneWeb Satellites in a joint venture between OneWeb and Airbus. We're at T plus 56 minutes and 56 seconds, and the first 14 OneWeb satellites should be deploying in about a minute and a half here.
Falcon Creeper, I didn't want to let you guys know, Falcon 9 is capable of handling multiple downlinks, so they can have an AOS through Diego Garcia and the Maldives. You could do either one. It could have 2 links at the same time. I'll tell you what I'd do, man. I'd have my second stage have 2 links at the same time, man.
Satellites.
Dang straight.
If you are just joining us, we are currently waiting for the first of 3 deployments of our 40 OneWeb satellites currently riding on our Falcon 9 second stage. We did have a good 2 burns of our second stage engine. TJ. We just wrapped up a very short 3-second burn of the second stage.
You don't need $1 million.
And we are coming up shortly on the payload deployment of 14 OneWeb satellites here in just under 30 seconds.
Can someone explain the difference between Starlink and OneWeb? Ford and Chevy. Shutsy, seriously. That's why it's hilarious that they're launching
acquisition
OneWeb.
of signal, Bangalore.
So it's interesting that they're launching OneWeb payloads. The reason why it's interesting is because SpaceX has Starlink. OneWeb is technically their competition. But OneWeb had some interesting circumstances because up until February of this year, they were using Soyuz, a Russian rocket, to fly into space. And OneWeb is a European-owned company. Ooh, this is awkward. So, yeah, that's not a thing anymore. So OneWeb needed to get their satellite constellation finished so they could get a minimum viable product. So OneWeb started shopping around. They launched, some of the OneWeb satellites are launched on GSLV Mark III from the Indian Space Research Organization. Actually, from right there. Their launch site is right where my mouse cursor is. But SpaceX did pick up some of the slack, which is kind of ironic. But, yeah, interesting, right?
Deployments. Now, again, we do have ground station coverage currently for this first set of deployments, but we will not have ground station coverage for the second or third set of deployments, with the second set scheduled to happen about 17 minutes from now.
That's hilarious, Hellfish. Really funny. I mean, Shutsy, Elon, the guy gives no fricks, dude. No fricks. Yeah, we'll launch the competition satellites into space. They still got to pay. It's not like I'm doing it for free. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's freaking shrewd as hell, dude. It's so funny. Oh, my goodness. Like, you can't make this stuff up, dude.
OneWeb, Sat B1, and B5 separation confirmed.
I'm not sure if Terran 1 is going to launch today, Dennis.
There is.
But ABL is teeing up a launch in Kodiak, Alaska.
There's separation of 2 more satellites in this first set of deployments.
It might be, Joe. Who knows?
Again, we are deploying 14 satellites in this first set of deployments.
Oh, there it goes. Oh! Or there it goes. Boosters.
OneWeb, Sat C1 and C5 separation confirmed.
There are 2 more satellites, and we briefly had a cool view from the second stage of one of those satellites floating off into space.
No fricks given. It's awesome. It's so funny, dude. Boosters. So even though they're
OneWeb, Sat E2 and A6 separation confirmed.
Okay. It's a good business model, though. We don't care who you are. We'll launch your stuff. Yeah, Evil Rays. Smart. Really, like 3D chess move.
There's another 2 satellites with confirmed deployment there.
I mean, you have a very... Elon to OneWeb. I don't know who you are, and I don't know what you want, but I have a very particular set of skills. Skills that I've acquired over a long career. So with the Sophia news, I'm hoping they put a mock of the actual telescope when it's on display.
14 satellites in this first set of deployments.
That'd be kind of cool, Hawks.
Getting some flashes of views from the second stage. You can see a couple of those satellites are now missing from their previous spots on that payload adapter.
SpaceX developed a multi-tiered metallic dispenser capable of accommodating up to 40 satellites. OneWeb satellites separated from the rocket in groups of 4 on the previous launches. With SpaceX will release OneWeb spacecraft in batches of 13 to 14 satellites. Unreal. Sophia's ex-Pan Am? You know what, Joe? I don't know. I know it's a 747 SP. It might be ex-Pan Am. And if it is, they should paint it in Pan Am colors because Pan Am was the original Chad tier launch vehicle. Or not launch vehicle.
Nice intermittent views from the second stage.
I was about to say launch provider, and I ended up saying vehicle. I don't know. Pan Am's the best. You guys know your history. The reason the 747 exists is because
OneWeb, Sat B4 and B8 separation confirmed.
Is because of One Trip and OneWeb. Not OneWeb. Jesus.
Just heard the call out for 2
more. My brain's
more
getting scrambled.
Satellite.
How big is the satellite?
Confirmed.
About the size of an engine block, Thimicool. So, meter by a meter, maybe.
From this set of 14 satellites.
I agree, Hawks. One Trip is
We should just have 2 more that we're waiting on this first set of deployment to round out that 14. And then we will be back for the second and third deployments.
More info for you. Okay, we had a shot on board there. Yeah, the OneWeb satellites aren't very big. It's like, about the size of an engine. About the size of a car engine. It was originally acquired by Pan American World Airways and was delivered in May of 1977.
And we have deployed 12 out of the 14 satellites in this first set of deployments for OneWeb.
Special performance. Short. Yeah, I know. SPs are
expected
cool,
loss of signal, Maldives.
Do you have an expected loss of signal here?
That's right, Deadbringer. Yeah, you a lot of you guys know. Pan Am wanted a bigger aircraft, so they challenged Boeing to make it. Boeing sank $2 billion in the late 1960s. $2 billion in 1960s money into 747 design, and it worked. Dude, the 747 was...
OneWeb, Sat A3 and A7 separation confirmed.
The 747 was like...
We just heard that confirmation for the last 2 satellites in this first set of 14 satellites being deployed.
Nice, FX. No way, dude. That's cool.
Now coming up, because we won't have any live views for the upcoming second deployment, we'll come back around the T+1 hour and 15-minute mark to confirm deployment of that second set of 13 satellites once we reconnect with a ground station. So in the meanwhile, sit back, relax, and we'll see you back here again soon.
Yeah, that's cool, Forge. Okay. So when they go out over Siberia here, there's no ground stations out there. So they're gonna do a deploy there, and then when it comes over the top of the North Pole, we should be in line in a connection for an orbit here, or for a deploy. Literally built the 747 while the building is being built, like Boca. Yeah. Yeah, Forge, the factory is right across the street from Blue Origin. True story. And that's where it's been. I always made that a thing when OneWeb satellites launched from like Vostochny. I always made it a thing to note that they literally shipped them halfway around the world to launch them into space. Satellites are made in Florida. I knew they were made in Florida because the shipping container had metric and imperial units for mass and like and stuff on it. I thought it was funny. I'm like, you think these Russians understand what like 52,000 pounds mean? They probably looked at that and going, "Что?" Huh? I thought it was funny. It made me laugh. It's not quite across the street, but very close. Actually, no, serious. It's across the street, man. You can see it from Blue Origin's factory. You can see the building. Like it is across the street. You want. I'm actually not exaggerating for once. It's literally across the street. I did, Wildland. Isn't that something? That's OneWeb. That's OneWeb's factory, and that's Blue's factory. Across the street, dude. And I swear, if you say it's 2 streets, I'm gonna slap you. You're gonna get slapped. Oh, I thought you were talking about Boeing. Yeah, okay, right on. Why isn't the U.S. using metric already? We do. It's just we use it for like engineering and stuff. 3 European streets to be precise. Yeah, Timmy got selected for Deer Moon. That's really, really cool. Hit the known T0 for ABL, waiting for an update. They're contracting more Falcon 9s now. OneWeb satellites going to SpaceX facilities for the next OneWeb launch. Let's hope the weather is not going to slow us down too much. Picture was taken yesterday.
Expected losses. Signal.
Yeah, Blue Origin's factory is in that picture, Fords. That's funny. It'd be so cool if they repainted and renamed Sophia in the original Clipper Lindbergh livery. Agreed. You think all the selectees have done medical yet? Creeper was telling me, John, that Tim basically hinted at that they've known that they've been selected for a long time. So, I'm gonna go ahead and guess that that's probably happened. Yeah, I haven't watched the video yet. He said in his video. Apparently he said it in his video, John. The entire Deer Moon crew watched Yusaka Mizawa go to the ISS. Interesting. That's cool. I'm looking at it over here, Phoenix. Interesting.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Hokey gifted a sub to Forge. The dankest timeline is where Deer Moon happens before Artemis 2. I know there's no chance for that. Yeah, that's not happening. T0 is updated to 2349. Remember when we thought we saw Tim watching Yusaku's launch? Did we, awesome? Hey, Skunks, what's going on? Orion entry trajectory. Cool. I know, Unprod, it's gonna be awesome. Orion is going to do the atmosphere skip to slow down too. Yep. Old tricks are the best tricks. Right on, Skunks. Thank you. Interesting, Forge. May I ask what the window for Monday's landing is? Well, there isn't really a window, Deft. It's gonna come down, and there's if it comes down in one piece, like. Yeah. With that being said, I have no idea. I forget off the top of my head, dude. What is an atmospheric skip? Orion is basically going to come in at an angle where it skips off the atmosphere. It's going to surf the atmosphere with its heat shield, like skipping a rock over water. Same exact idea, except it's not spinning. You don't need to spin it. The Orion's coming in so fast it doesn't need to spin. It'll just skip off the atmosphere. They do that to make sure that the heat shield doesn't heat up too much. You can, if you skip off the atmosphere, Cody, you're still going to absorb the same amount of heat no matter what because of how conservation of energy works. But the overall temperature will be lower on the heat shield if you skip off the atmosphere and you spread that heating out over a longer period of time. Yeah, Forge, just shuttle rescue. A shuttle rescue test article. Dude, I could point out exactly where that thing is. They should be deploying, but we don't have acquisition of signal right now for people that are updating with SpaceX. That's right. Exactly. It's like barbecue slow rolling something, Wisp, or flash frying it. It's right up in here somewhere, if I'm remembering correctly. Nope, that's not right. Where are we up here? I know it's in a weird spot. Ooh, what are they doing out there? Grading all that terrain. Oh yeah, there it is. Got it. See it? That was the space shuttle water rescue training device thingamajigger. See? Yeah, fun fact, if the shuttle did land in water, they literally just cut the roof off the shuttle to get people out. Like Jaws of Life stuff, because it's gonna sink. Shuttles don't float very well.
Followed by a successful ascent, stage separation, first stage landing.
That's right.
2-second
Yep,
stage
KJ, you got it.
and the successful deployment of the first set of OneWeb satellites from the second stage. We should have separated the second block of OneWeb satellites about 2 minutes ago, but since we didn't have
Because the first skip slows it down to a suborbital velocity, Cody.
That we did have that deployment once we connect to
That's
our
true,
next
Sarah, we did.
ground station.
That means mine's better.
The second deployment will have sent 13 satellites into low Earth orbit. We are waiting for our ground station coverage in Svalbard coming up in a few seconds to confirm that deployment. It's possible we might not get that ground station deployment, in which case we will just wait for our next period of ground station coverage to get that confirmation.
There you go, Velk. So right now it's the stage is over northern Siberia, making its way into the Barents.
We are waiting for ground station coverage in order to confirm the successful deployment of
right
our
here?
second batch of satellites, a set of 13 satellites for OneWeb.
All over the place, T-Man. Svalbard, Norway is like... Oh, camera skipped. They have
7 OneWeb spacecraft separations confirmed.
See? Did you see the camera skip? They got an acquisition
We just got
signal.
confirmation of 7 of those 13 satellites.
Svalbard's
We are
way
still
up in the
waiting
northern
on
part of Norway.
the
It's up
additional
there.
6 satellites from that second set.
OneWeb, Sat D4 and D8 separation confirmed.
Perfect.
There is another 2 still waiting on 4 satellite deployment confirmations of the second set.
Is it up here, guys, or is it over here? I'm usually good with my geography. I forget. Now, maybe now I'm not so sure. Between Greenland and Norway. Out there? That one. Cool. Why does it take so long to deploy?
Again, we've had confirmation of 9 of 13 successful deployments of the second set of OneWeb satellites.
Got to deploy them in the right spots, dude. Remember, these are more conventional than Starlink. Starlink just lets the thing go.
You can see a cool video live view
Good
from
looking.
the second stage briefly here, as we've managed to get some video here. You can see many of
Something like that,
those
TJ, yeah.
payload adapter slots are empty.
OneWeb, Sat D3 and D7 separation
Oh,
confirmed.
there it goes. Yeah.
You can see
Bye-bye.
one of those
Up
OneWeb
there, too.
satellites floating
Bye-bye.
off there from the second stage. And that was confirmation of 2 additional satellites being successfully deployed here in the second set of deployments. And we are just waiting for 2 more in this set of 13 satellites.
They want minimum clearance between sats for safety purposes.
Again, this is
OneWeb, Sat C2 and C6
Oh.
separation confirmed.
Bye-bye, little guy.
there. You can see very cool views of that satellite popping
So the-
off
the flat
from
things
the
on the side
second
are solar
stage.
panels, guys,
Again,
that
that
we're deploying
was
out.
our last 2
ABL is
satellites
delayed,
of this
ABS.
set of 13 satellites in this second set of deployments. So now we've had good confirmation of those. We're going to take another short coast phase before the third and final deployment for today's mission, which is scheduled to take place in about another 15 minutes. Now, again, we won't have ground station coverage for the final deployment, but we will come back to confirm that deployment was successful around the T+1 hour and 30-minute mark. So until then, enjoy the space tunes, and we'll see you in about 10 minutes or so.
Looks like we're getting some squashing and stretching on the map right there. T-0 for ABL. Shame they didn't stream it. Dude, this looks like it might... Okay, so we got Alaska right there. There's the Bering Strait. Greenland's right there. Hudson Bay is up there. The last company that didn't stream their launches is Astra. What? Astra absolutely streamed their launches. Bill, it kind of looks like it, but I think this one's gonna fly over the Midwest. It might fly over me looking at this trajectory. I might be able to see it because the sun's going down. Oh, Rocket, I got you. Yeah. Yeah, you might see some pulses around. That's Falcon 9's attitude control system. Falcon 9's second stage has nitrogen thrusters as well. Could we see it from the EU? If you're in Svalbard, then maybe, yeah. Maybe, yeah. John, I don't have any windows. I don't know when sunset is. I have no idea. This garage has no windows. What do you want from me? I have no concept of time other than clocks on the computer. No, this one, I don't think we'll be able to see it. Ah, there you go, Loopy. So you're saying we need a sunroof in the streaming room. Not true, you have 20 windows, not 10. Man, I don't... You know, like when people say, hey, answer this, no wrong answers? I didn't even have to say it, and you guys are doing that. It's kind of funny how that works. I don't know, man. She kind of funny. You funny, too. Is the blue line the next orbit? Yeah, I think so. Oh, nice, Libby. There you go. With proper curds. Good man. It's currently flying over Santa's house right now. Yeah, Dan, I don't know. Kinda funny. You funny too. Let me go ask my wife. Someone in my Discord's dad was on that flight you pointed out. Someone in my Discord's dad. That's cool, Grabshark, but the sentence is what makes that funny. Someone in my Discord's dad was on that flight you pointed out. Phrasing! I understand the sentence and it's perfectly grammatically correct, but I'm sorry. You hate me? You hate me? So much. What did I do? What did I do? I didn't do nothing. You're the one that said it. And you did nothing. 95, you did nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. Can we time grab out for that? Nah. Oh, I didn't do that. Nope. Rocket guy did. Current sea ice around the North Pole. Icy. You could say that that's pretty cool. That's pretty being chilling. Being chilling. Nice, Loopy, that's cool. Yeah, Den, it's pretty rad, isn't it? ABL aborted at T-minus 6 minutes. Operators observed off-nominal data and initiated a manual abort at T-minus 6. RS-1 is healthy. We've decided to proceed with propellant offload to investigate further. Yeah. It's all good. All good.
Expected loss of signal, Svalbard.
LOS through Svalbard. Yeah, Penta, that's right.
Acquisition of signal, Kodiak.
Just more data for the rocket, Thomas. Also, that payload adapter that SpaceX cooked up is pretty fancy. You can see the milling marks on the adapter. Look, there's the other satellites. There's all the satellites they deployed. See them over there? What a shot. See? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's cool, man. I didn't hear it, John. See, this is why I stayed covering this to see stuff like that. You're a panel, Fanta. Got him. Kodiak. They got AOS through Kodiak. Thank you, Bill. Kodiak, ironically, is where ABL is trying to launch from.
OneWeb sat E3 and E7 separation confirmed.
You see me Kerbalize the CJ, no pressure. Ouch. There he goes. Bye-bye, little guy. You can see its brothers out over there. See? 1, 2. Those are other satellites. From Svalbard to Kodiak, Alaska. Yeah, did it in a couple of minutes. Those aren't close to each other. That's a really nice watch. Good for him.
OneWeb, Sat B3, separation confirmed.
Oh, bye-bye. Cool.
Expected loss of signal, Kodiak.
LOS through Kodiak. Does releasing the satellite drift the upper stage off course? Svalsat. Thank you, Radar.
OneWeb, Sat D1 and D5, separation confirmed.
It does pop. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So the amount of force that they use to separate the satellite is the same amount of force that the satellite separates from the PAF. The thing is that Falcon 9, for one, has thrusters on it. So it keeps it on an even keel. And two, the second stage with the payload dispenser is a lot more mass than the satellite. Oh. So that force that was imparted on the second stage and payload attachment fitting when the satellite separated is inconsequential comparatively to the much lighter mass of the satellite. So long story short, yes. But you wouldn't, it looks like the satellite is separating from the stage. But in space, yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. It'll push the stage up. It'll push the second stage.
Sat E8, separation confirmed.
It'll push the OneWeb stage a little bit, or the OneWeb PAF in this Falcon 9 second stage. It'll push them a little bit.
Sat E4, separation confirmed.
There you go. Yeah, Mutter, if they're releasing two at the same time, then yeah, I mean, you're still pushing on it, but you're pushing on it from both sides, so it doesn't do that. Who owns all these different downlink stations? SpaceX does?
Acquisition of signal, Vandenberg.
So this stuff right here is solid nitrogen from outgassing the thrusters on the stage. That's what all the sparkly stuff is. The constant stuff, like that dot, those are satellites. And some of those, it looks like some of those OneWeb satellites out there have deployed their solar panels. See how they're a little bit of an oblong shape? Looks like the first set of satellites that they deployed have started to unfurl those solar panels, which is cool. Solar panels are...
Sat D2 and D6, separation confirmed.
Bye-bye. Those guys right there are the solar panels they'll actually fold out. So it looks like we got two more sets of satellites from what I can see. So there's A, B, C, D. So that's E2 and E4, if I'm looking at this right, and E3 and E6, I think. They're IFOs, Ilya. They're identified. We know what those are. Yeah, Breakneck, it is becoming a little bit of a concern, but it's nothing that we can't figure out. Jason, you're going to need to look east. Look low-ish on the horizon east. Yep, see, there's the outgassing from the thrusters. Actually, 45 degrees. Look up in 45 degrees east. You might be able to see it. That's what they're doing, Panta.
OneWeb, Sat E2 and E6, separation confirmed.
Okay, so 2 is reciprocal 6, so, okay. Oh, bye-bye, little guy. Spread your wings and fly! So that's 2 and 6, meaning that that one would be 1 and 5, I think. So that would be E1 and E5. That looks like the last one on the rack here.
OneWeb, Sat E1 and E5, separation confirmed.
Got it.
40 OneWeb spacecraft satellite separations confirmed.
At least 2, Blinga. I'm not sure how many there are total, to be honest with you.
Hello again. We are here nearing the
May.
end of our mission today for our customer OneWeb. As you may have been following along with the live views from the second stage, we have deployed all 40 of the satellites from the second stage today. And you may have been following along with those views, but those bright spots that you may have seen in the background were the other OneWeb satellites that have just been deployed. So with the successful deployment of those 40 OneWeb satellites, that brings today's mission to a close. All of us here at SpaceX want to give a big thank you to our customer OneWeb for entrusting us with today's mission. We also want to give a shout out to the Range and Federal Aviation Administration for supporting today's mission. Tonight's launch concludes our 193rd overall SpaceX mission to date and 55th launch this year. Thanks to all of our viewers for tuning in and your continued support.
So if this is gonna fly over Denver here. If you're in Colorado Springs or Denver, seriously look up. You'll see it. You will absolutely see that and the swarm of OneWeb satellites following that second stage. Oh yeah, if it's not cloudy. Yeah, they've launched a lot, man. Kind of cool that even with Falcon 9 second stage being overpowered, the injection accuracy was impressive, 602 by 604. The thrusters can compensate, Forge. Yeah, it's good, man. SpaceX and SpaceX has that thing like dialed in, but yeah. Dama, if it's not cloudy, you got probably about a minute at best before it's gone. Does the transport craft for all these satellites just come back and burn up, or does it serve as a satellite as well? No, SpaceX will deorbit the second stage in the payload attachment fitting breakneck. Yeah, they'll deorbit it. In Colorado, like right now, worst. If you're in Colorado, if you're in Denver, look up. I'm seriously right now. I did a South Park, see, because Colorado. I'm seriously right now, guys. I'm serious. If it's not cloudy, look up. You'll see it. It'll be like straight up in the sky. You can't miss it. If you can't miss it if it's not cloudy, trust me, you'll see it. If SpaceX switched their second stage to hydrogen, how much more efficient could you get? I'd have to figure out the total impulsive volume of the propellants taking up that volume inside of the second stage. I don't know. Maybe like one to two-fold increase in efficiency, but you'd be swapping it for thrusts. But T-Man, that's so complicated that they wouldn't even bother. For deorbit, do they relight the MVAC or use the thrusters? They relight the MVAC. I'm super serial, guys. Man Bear Pig is real. 69% more efficient. 69% of the time, it's more efficient every time. That doesn't even make sense. All right, guys. Does the second stage burn up or do they recover? Diddly, it has no heat shield. The second stage on Falcon 9 is disposable. They get the fairings in the first stage back, which is pretty dang good. You want a reusable second stage? Well, they're working on that right now, but it's not Falcon, it's that thing. See that thing right there? Yeah, SpaceX is trying to figure that problem out right now. That is an interesting problem to solve. Oh, boy. Sorry about that. That's an interesting problem to solve. Got it. You just answered your next question. No problem, Diddly. I get asked a lot of the same questions a lot, dude. So I kind of anticipate where that conversation's going. Forgive me for presuming, but in this case, I did get it right. That thing right now is one of the most exciting things you ever watched. Oh, yeah. Starship landing? Yeah, absolutely.